Apple's new MacBooks have smoked the Intel models they've replaced. They've smoked Windows Ultrabooks that cost even more money. They've smoked high-end RTX graphics Windows machines. And now it is time to put it head-to-head against my $15,000 Mac Pro. And don't worry, we'll make this as quick as possible to make it the least painful for this Mac Pro and for myself for buying this Mac Pro a couple of years ago. Now, here are the specs side by side so you guys can check them out. This Mac Pro is 15 Gs with 192 gigs of RAM, the Afterburner card, the 12-core processor, and the Vega 2 graphics with 32 gigabytes of memory, compared to $3,500 for this M1 Max MacBook. Now, this thing right here also comes with speakers. It comes with the 1080p webcam, it comes with microphones, it comes with this amazing display. Whereas this thing, well, it doesn't come with any of that. So that's another at least couple grand, but up to about 7 grand if you want Apple's Pro Display XDR and some nicer speakers. That's a huge price difference. Now let's just get right into the carnage here. We're gonna start out with Geekbench 5. The single core score obviously gets killed by this MacBook. It's way more powerful. And then on the multi-core side, surprisingly, this MacBook also defeats it, and that is on battery power. Now, when we jump into Metal, the graphics test, my Vega 2 here scores over 100,000 compared to 68,000. So it's 47% more raw graphics performance. It has 32 gigs of memory just for the graphics card, where I have 32 gigs for the whole system right over here. And of course, it draws a lot more power. Well, now we'll see what this actually means in real world results, both in photo editing and video editing, in Xcode and other real world tests. Now for simple tasks like web browsing, the MacBook destroys the Mac Pro. And it's funny to say, hey, it's faster at web browsing, but you do notice it every time you're on one system and the other one. It's just so quick at loading web pages. Stuff does actually load slower even if your internet is fast on the Mac Pro. Now that might also be because the SSDs are so fast on this system. The write speed is pretty much twice as fast, and the read speed is approaching that as well, even though we do have 1 terabyte on both of these machines. Now, if we completely max out the systems with Cinebench's 3D rendering benchmark, you guys will see that the Mac Pro does actually have more overall performance. We're seeing about 15% more there. Now, that is pretty impressive. So the overall CPU power is still higher, even for the 12-core model. Now, if we take a look how much power that uses, I was shocked to see that the Mac Pro drawed 218 watts at peak for the CPU compared to our MacBook, which maxes out at 30 watts. That is over 7 times the amount of power needed. And of course, the MacBook comes with a battery so you can use it on the go. Now, the next thing that absolutely shocked me was the performance when gaming. When the Mac Pro came out, it was the fastest gaming machine. Of course, it was super expensive. But now, with this off-screen test that is fair, the MacBook's 32-core graphics get 51% more frames per second. And that's on battery power. That is incredible, the efficiency. Now, all we need is some good Mac games. There's a few that are optimized and perform extremely well, but we need more. Now, for those of you guys that work with music, this is one area where the Mac Pro absolutely destroyed previous MacBooks. And this time, with these new chips, the MacBooks get very close, but the Mac Pro is still 25% more powerful. It can handle a lot more tracks, more plugins. Still very, very great results for the MacBook, more than good enough for anybody. And this is the new Logic benchmark. You guys can search it up, find out exactly what is being tested and stacked there. And for those of you guys that work with Xcode, my goodness, this performance is insane. We have Max MacBook's benchmark. That's a big compile. And our Mac Pro, this thing took 125 seconds. It was super fast when we got it. The MacBooks only took 94 seconds to compile it. That is insane. 33% faster, of course, on battery power. And it's crazy. How is it this fast One has way less RAM. CPU performance is 15% lower if you're maxing out the CPU, which it is. Well, it's just optimizations with the unified memory architecture that's working insanely fast. Now, fun fact for you guys, if you buy the most expensive Mac Pro, which will probably be at least 20 grand without upgrading graphics or other stuff, well, that one, if with a good amount of RAM, that one takes 90 seconds. That is the fastest system for Xcode. This MacBook, 3,500 bucks, you can walk in Apple and buy it. This thing takes 94 seconds. That just blows my mind. Now, for those of you guys that edit photos, the Mac Pro was insane because of a 6-channel memory, a lot of RAM that really sped things up. As far as photo editing, they're both super smooth, but when it comes to export, the Mac Pro does still win. It took 1 minute, 11 seconds, and used 46 gigs of RAM when exporting that, so more than the system has together, compared to 121. So it's close. The previous MacBooks would be like 3 times longer than the Mac Pro, so it's getting close, but it does still get beaten. Now, I would not pay 15 grand or maybe 10 grand in order to be slightly faster. And then for those of you guys that are making previews, same thing. The Mac Pro is faster. In this case, it's actually quite a bit faster. I'm not really sure why. Maybe previews uses more RAM. Now, on the flip side, some of you guys asked us to test out Affinity, and we did. I ran their built-in benchmark, and the Mac Pro got killed. They have a combined score here, and for the CPU, the MacBook was 8% faster, but for the graphics, it literally was over 3 times faster. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how they optimized this program for these machines, but the performance for some of these tests that they run in this benchmark, it's insane. So for those who get to buy a MacBook, definitely check out Affinity Photo instead of like Photoshop. There's a lot of great alternatives that are much better optimized. And now let's get into 3D rendering. This is something we didn't test last year, and I thought, man, with this graphics card, 32 gigs of memory in here, it should kill it, right? Well, take a look at this. For the Splashbox benchmark, the MacBook is 62% faster. This is insane to me. I don't know, is it the memory that's making it much faster? All that crazy bandwidth, 400 gigabytes per second. I don't know what it is. You guys let me know if you work with this. It's using the EV engine here. And then when you switch to the Party Tug file that you can download and test yourself, this is over 5 times faster. This is using mostly the graphics. It's not optimized for metal yet, but it's so much faster on the MacBook. It is just insanely fast on these new MacBooks. And then if we switch over to the Cycles engine, which takes a lot longer in general, it is higher quality, especially if you want to do super detailed lighting. Here, the Mac Pro does beat out by a couple minutes, about 25% faster, full 100% CPU. So that is actually a very impressive performance gain. And now let's switch over to what we do all the time, every day, and that is video editing. And guys, I just want to say, I still had hopes for this Mac Pro. I thought that in some of these tests, it's gonna do a great job because it has lots of raw horsepower, but I was wrong. Jumping into HEVC stabilization, the MacBook was twice as fast. It has really fast decoders, really good graphics performance, and the Mac Pro is just limited with its old AMD graphics card. Even the newest 6900X graphics cards, those have the same encoders and decoders. They're still limited by that. Now, when we go to export, you see the Mac Pro is fast, but the MacBook killed it. 1 minute and 19 seconds for a 5-minute color graded project. Insane performance. And I was like, all right, well, we're not gonna do any more easy stuff, right? This has fast decoders and encoders. Let's take it a step up and switch to Canon R5 422 10-bit footage. This stuff right here is really tough. A lot of new cameras are coming with this codec because it's very high quality, and the MacBook plays it back perfectly, where the Mac Pro is a stuttery mess because it doesn't have the right hardware to work with this. And then because of this, exporting a 5-minute color graded project is about 4 times slower on the Mac Pro than the MacBook. The MacBook just kills it. Over 4 times faster, actually. All right, let's just go with something really tough. I don't want to make this video editing section too long. Let's go straight to the 8K Canon RAW, not RAW Lite, Canon RAW. Tough footage. You need CPU performance, which you know under 100% load, it's faster here. You need GPU performance, it's maxing everything out. And look at the results here, guys. The MacBook exported more than 2 minutes faster. I was not expecting that. I was like, what's going on? It should be being killed, right? And so I thought about, well, I'm exporting to ProRes. This is a high quality video file. I usually would go to ProRes for something high end like this. And maybe I'll just switch it to H.265 because we have ProRes encoders with the system. With the Afterburner, you still don't have those encoders. We'll talk about that in just a bit. And I was shocked to see that even then, it still beat out the Mac Pro with H.265. And for this crazy test, it still kills it. I'm like, all right, well, what can we do? You know, this is using both the CPU and GPU. What if we need a codec that really pushes that over 100,000 score for the metal, for the graphics? Well, that's 8K Red RAW. Now, as far as playback, we do see a difference. Pretty much the Mac Pro is almost perfect. It's not perfect at playing this back at full quality. The MacBook, it drops about 4 frames per second more. So it's definitely usable, especially if you go into better performance, it's gonna be perfect. All right, so this can't handle it. Let's go ahead and export this project. Let's see what happens. Well, I was shocked to see that once again, it beat it out. Only by 2 seconds this time, but it still beat it out. I'm like, how the heck is this happening? And I'm like, all right, let's just go to H.264 this time. Those are slower encoders. H.265 is fast. It still beat it out. What is going on? I'm just flabbergasted at what is happening in this comparison. This is where the Mac Pro should have been winning, and it's not. And now let's flip to ProRes RAW. The MacBook Pro now has ProRes RAW encoders and decoders built in, whereas for this Mac Pro, it's $2,000 for the Afterburner card. And of course, you guys saw the CPU performance, GPU performance, all of that. So let's see what happens. Well, with a 5-minute 4K graded project, the MacBook smokes the Mac Pro. 1 minute and 4 seconds compared to 1 minute 45. Now that's 1 minute 45 with that $2,000 add-in card. If you don't use the add-in card, it's 2 minutes and 45 seconds. So an even bigger difference, almost 3 times longer, which is crazy. And I'm like, all right, let's step this up. Let's go to 8K ProRes RAW, and we're gonna export to ProRes 4444XQ. This 5-minute project is like 215 gigabytes in size when you export it. Huge file sizes, and well, here's what happened. The MacBook was more than twice as fast at exporting this 5-minute graded 8K project, and that's with the Afterburner. Without the Afterburner, the Mac Pro takes 20 minutes, so it's almost 4 times faster. And that is when I realized, well, this Mac Pro, I had a hard time selling it before. I keep getting people reaching out to want to buy it, and then they look into the new M1 systems, M1 Pro, M1 Max. They watch these videos that I make right here, and they literally just say, hey, sorry, I'm buying a new MacBook. Hey, sorry, I'm gonna buy this machine over here. I'm buying an iMac, Mac Mini, and now with these new MacBooks, it is just literally, I had 3 people that were serious about buying it, and then they were, hey, sorry, I saw videos, blah, 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 I'm not gonna buy it. I'm like, hey, I don't blame you. It sucks for me, because it's a very expensive machine and I don't really need it. I don't want to throw it out like you guys might have saw in the thumbnail. But at this point, even for the toughest tests, everything we do, the MacBook beats it in a $3,500 package with the display, speakers, webcam, battery. It's portable. It is just absolutely insane what Apple has done. And it is just doing an amazing, amazing job. So good job, Apple. It's great that we can get such killer performance for the money. Even the Mac Pro is now, for most tasks, taken out. Unless you want to buy like the 28 core, you know, it's over 50 Gs if you fully spec it out. In that case, of course, if you want to have 4 graphics cards in there, if you need 1.5 terabytes of RAM, if you need PCI slots, this thing still has a place. So there's definitely people that still need to buy this, but judging on who's been reaching out to buy it from me, those people are few and far between. All right, guys, thank you for watching. If you guys want to help us reach our goal of 1 million subscribers, please click that subscribe button above. We would greatly appreciate it. Check out our merch down below, as well as the links. Check out one of those great videos right over there. This has been Max, and I'll see you in the next video.